I suppose it's commonly realised that all the life energy that we get comes to us from the sun. I mean, apart from the obvious that, your fuel and so on is burning wood and coal and oil and so forth. But all the energy that comes in comes from the sun. I suppose there's a certain background heat that the Earth is producing itself still. Scientists did work out that the planet should have cooled down long ago. It must be generating its own heat down there. I mean, one can imagine a sort of situation where the heavier, unstable metals tend to collect together under gravity or whatever, and get the equivalent of some sort of nuclear reaction, perhaps. What's it if you put enough uranium together? I think it becomes unstable, doesn't it? Whatever. But the plants have this amazing thing with chlorophyll that it takes the energy from the sun and with some of the base materials from the planet, carbon, oxygen and so on, makes sugars, which is what we need, of course. And I wonder if we are not designed to absorb sunlight directly. It's healthier if you get some sunlight. If you're deprived of it, it's not good for your immune system and so forth. That might be pre-ancient throwback from perhaps we developed from plants and so on. Yeah, we breathe, we take in oxygen, and what we think of as matter, atoms, really highly charged masses of energy, tiny though they be, the coiled up substance, I think I'll probably shock you here, of the medium that we call space, empty space. You can imagine it as the unrolled strings of something much smaller than atoms, far, far, far smaller. Charged particles that, if they collect together, form matter, atoms. If they sort of coil up, join forces with each other, and you produce matter. And the energy we get from the sun is the radiation of these particles. So they burst forth under the intense heat and pressures of the sun, radiating out into space. And we say, oh, lovely, sunshine. Time to sunbathe. the amazing thing is that we can take in this vegetable type matter or air or even direct sunlight and extract from it possibly a tiny fraction of the energy that's actually there, for which we run the body on, of course, nervous system and everything else. And indeed is what the body is made of too, of course, because we're just atoms put together, aren't we? It's the most astonishing creation. There's the odd amazing mystic you may have heard of, but possibly haven't, that doesn't eat, seems to rely on direct energy, perhaps from the sun, perhaps from the air they breathe. Don't eat, don't drink, haven't done so for decades. I think there's probably always been a few down history that are alive at any one time. They're the sort of absurd wonders of the world. Rather than particles, I think I'd refer to them as lifetrons. I'm not quite sure, by any means, whether these lifetrons are in some sense consciousness. The trouble is, I'm not at all clear on what consciousness is. You know these theories that, was it Gaia, the notion that the planet constitutes a being, sort of thing you pick up from Steiner to some extent too. Simply the amassing of these lifetrons in the form of matter, of course, atoms, put enough of them together, in which case the stars are the most fantastic beings. Well, let me go for the imagination for a moment. You know the view that perhaps that in our heavenly state, we are one of those stars, each one of us. Experiencing this tiny life on a planet going around one of them. For a very noble reason, that we be eternal. Now, we don't think stars are eternal. We think they last a certain very long period of time. And then they die to be what are sometimes called white dwarfs. Or they get mopped up again in what we call a black hole, which is just an enormous mass of matter that perhaps becomes unstable and bursts into a cascade of matter, energy, and you get another local universe appearing from such. Be a very strange form of unbelievably long life. these things are in the imagination. But so often, what is imagination today becomes tomorrow's possibility and the future's reality. Or something like it. We see dimly, don't we? We have ideas, some of which are valid and some of which are not, and of course we don't know the difference. Time will tell. Anyway, coming back to it, I find sunbathing is a very healthy thing to do. You don't want to do it to excess, of course, as we all know. But a good idea. I know they had a rest home decades ago, and they found that simply putting the elderly out onto the veranda in the sunshine a little each day made all the difference in the world to the sickness rate and also their cognitive survival. Keep the mind intact and so on. And no doubt the right food and exercise and that would help too. And of course any establishments that's earnestly practicing to find out what might be best is probably changing several factors at once. That's hard to say which of the experiments is resulting in what. But you go 50, 70 years ago, you didn't have to tell people it was a good idea to leave the window open. Get fresh air in, you need oxygen, you need air. We've lost that with our so-called air conditioning and sealing the windows to conserve power and to save the fuel bill. And it used to be the case that if you took anything to someone in hospital, it would be grapes, some fruit, because it's the one thing that is likely to be of benefit to them. Now you might go in with a bag full of fast food, of course. Yes, times have changed. Fresh air, sunshine, raw fruit, some exercise, and fill your life with thankfulness, and you will do well. Bless you. Thank you, Dad.